I think this is one of the most amazing brain summits that's been put together. Uh, some of the people speaking are folks that have made amazing contributions to the field. For example, we have Dr. Small is talking about healthy aging and how that relates to the brain. Dr. Bullmore from England is talking about inflammation, how that affects the brain. Dr. Hassan is talking about how the gut and the brain interact in such a way that problems can occur in aging individuals and how that can be improved. Dr. Nedegar is the one who basically discovered the lymphatic system, which is the way that the brain is able to get rid of toxins and how that becomes a problem and how that can be one of the causes of degenerative disease. Dr. Goodnow is an expert in molecular work, and he's figured out ways of restoring the membranes in the brain using dietary type of manipulation. Dr. Vernon Williams, good friend, colleague of mine, is an amazing fellow who has done a lot of work with brain trauma and how trauma can cause a progressive degeneration of the brain. Dr. Barkadarian is a neurosurgeon who's very interested in figuring out how the walking can fail as people get older and what can be done in terms of interventions to improve that, including possible surgical interventions. Uh, Emily Amos is going to be talking about nutritional aspects. Dr. Eslin, he's an amazing man at UCLA who's going to talk about the spiritual aspects of aging and the aging brain and how you can come to grips with that. Dr. Bredesen, of course, has been well known in terms of looking at multiple factors that can be reversed in stopping the degenerative process. Aubrey de Grey, he's obviously been an amazing figure in the field of aging, and he's going to talk about things that can be done to repair degeneration from the cellular level. And Dr. Kuhn is a neuropsychologist who's an expert in advanced imaging techniques. And he's going to talk about some of the new developments that are in the pipeline so that we can make early diagnoses of brain degeneration, and therefore we can make decisions about interventions at an early stage when it'd be easier to treat. And that brings me to me. So I'm going to first talk about the 4 M's of the aging brain. So memory, mood, mobility, and mojo. And I'm going to be talking about how families and individuals can really get an early handle on something that might be going amiss so that someone can get an early intervention. The second speech is on chronic brain infection. And we're going to be talking about the bugs that live within us, including some bugs that lay dormant in our brains. And just like with our experience with syphilis in the 1800s and early 1900s, it turns out that there are multiple bugs, some of them similar to syphilis, that may be laying dormant in our brains that only come out when, with aging, our immune system is no longer able to fight off these infections and control them, that things can come out of their dormant state and start to cause problems with brain function. And then what can be done about it. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this very near and dear concept that I have about how to reset the biological clock of aging. So it turns out that aging is not just simply an accumulation of damage that occurs because of exposure in life, whether it's trauma or toxins, infections, all the bad things that happen to us. That's part of what causes aging. But there's actually a clock that determines the various milestones in our life, including probably when we age and when we die. Once we can identify where this clock is, we can try to reprogram it. So the very last talk of the summit is to look at some of the concepts that relate to this biological clock and what we can do to reset it so that perhaps aging and dying is not necessarily the disabling inevitability that it appears to be now, that there may be ways of resetting the biological clock so that we can restore health not only to our bodies, but to the different parts of the brain that may be failing. And we've been so fortunate in getting basically 100% of the people we wanted on this program. They're all here. They're all great speakers. They're all people that are front runners in their areas. And I think it's going to be amazing for the participants in this summit to really learn about all the new things that are happening in brain work, and how we can apply these things over the coming years to turn around some of these degenerative conditions that we previously thought were unassailable.